breaking news for your head tops. Myself and my main G, Rambo, are starting up a new sports podcast by the name of Park the Bus. Literally on a bus. It's going to be insane. The guests that we have got lined up for this are genuinely going to be sick. You can check out a link to it down in the description below. Now though, let's get on with the video. Yo guys, it's your boy using a hat to cover up his absolutely shambolic trim, Niran here, and we're back once again at roughly the halfway stage of the Premier League season. So I thought I would take a look at some of the standouts, some of the highlight players from this campaign so far. I'm going to try and build my team of the first 18 games within the Premier League campaign that we are currently having. 2021. Now, there's been a lot of standout performers this season, especially strikers and forwards. I feel like at that point, this is going to become a very, very difficult video. But if you go on to enjoy, then feel free to slap a like on this one, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. I'm going to be going through some of the people that I think are standout performers and like honourable mentions. Then I'll take a look at what some of you guys thought were the best players in the season so far, and then I'll actually give you my starting 11 and the subs bench as well. I'm going to start off though with the shot stoppers. In goal. Now, obviously, we're going to look towards the top of the table for a decent amount of the people involved in this video. But I feel like when it comes to goalkeepers, the most standout ones are usually the ones that have to face the most shots, unless you're Aaron Ramsdale. So in this situation, we're going to be looking mostly towards mid-table and below, even though the likes of Alisson and Edison have still made very important saves at times this season. Emiliano Martinez, the guy that 128% of people have on fantasy football, has got to be in with a shout. Couple penalty saves here and there, has looked solid since signing from Arsenal, where obviously had a great end of last season and really shot himself onto the map. He's a ridiculously accomplished goalkeeper. Before they signed him, I predicted Aston Villa to go down. It was still a terrible prediction anyway. Another team in claret and blue though, Burnley. Nick Pope becomes Lev Yashin anytime he plays anybody in the top 6. He's a stupidly consistent goalkeeper. I don't watch Burnley week in, week out, thank the Lord. But from what I do see of him, I actually don't see the kid ever make mistakes, which is hard as a goalkeeper. Carl Darlow's been amazing from Newcastle as well this season in replacing Martin Dubravka. Sam Johnston from West Brom. I mean, those guys are really, really bad, but he is a really, really good goalkeeper. Made some unbelievable saves in games against United and Liverpool. And also Leeds' youngster, Melier, has been pretty impressive. Bit more of an honourable mention rather than being in the conversation. Onto the wing backs. I'm going to group these into one unit, okay, which is a terrible idea, Niran. Why would you not? We're going to do it anyway, okay? We'll start with the right backs though. João Cancelo has actually looked moderately worth the money that Man City paid for him, rather than being a bit of a bench warmer last season. He's definitely dismantled Kyle Walker as the leading right back, and has also played on the wing. He can also play on the left as well. He's just class in it. He's got a decent amount of assists this season for a fullback too. There's a debate as well for Reece James, really and truly from Chelsea. I know they've looked awful recently, and I'll be honest, so has he. But as a general across the season, apart from a couple of disaster classes here at the end, he's had a good season, hasn't he? I'm not gonna lie, he's not gonna be my starting right back. And if he hadn't been injured for half the season, Castagna would probably get in at right back too. I don't think I've seen a fullback who's attacked more since Trent Alexander-Arnold last season. That was not a very good example. I think Matty Cash for Aston Villa in a debut season has been surprisingly decent for what I would expect from him. And also Kufal from the Czech Republic and West Ham looks class as well. Kufal and Matty Cash. Who would have thought they'd be in this at the start of the season? Now, for me, James Justin is a bit of a weird one because he plays right back half the time and plays left back half the time. But he looks sick in it. Why have we got so many English right backs? Can we just convert one of them? Trent. I was never a fan of Trent being a centre mid, but for the sake of the English national team and the cholesterol of the manager who has to deal with them, somebody needs to go.
He has to go, blood.
He's got good physicality about him. He's actually got good defensive awareness. He's actually a very all-round right back or full-back even. I know people talk about Reece James being way more complete than Wan-Bissaka and Trent. To an extent, he's more balanced for sure. James Justin is a really, really balanced full-back. He can cut in as an inverted wing-back on the left left as well and ping it top bins in the FA Cup. More traditional left backs, and I think a kind of obvious one is Luke Shaw. As much as I hate to say it, I said that the man had a build like a dishwasher. He's not the best in terms of quality in the league, but this season, the guy's been really good. He looks like he's got a lot more defensive positioning and awareness now when he's not being dragged to the floor by another home appliance in the form of a fridge in Harry Maguire. And if he carries on this form throughout the whole season, I genuinely think there's a case for him starting at the Euros over Ben Chilwell, who, speaking of which, we can't ignore, has been pretty decent when going to Chelsea. He's been good this season. Is it massively over my expectations of him in a slightly better team, in a more attacking team, so he's going to get potentially more assists? I don't know, really. Don't get me wrong, he's been good. I know a lot of Leicester fans, when he left, weren't that fussed when he left because they thought he was actually overhyped and overrated by other fans. He has been good though, and Chelsea at one point during the season kept a really good and solid string of clean sheets together. There's genuinely been loads of left backs that have been sick this season. Another one is Kieran Tierney from Arsenal. Had a ridiculous game against West Brom, and even when Arsenal have looked absolutely shocking like in the first half of the season, he's always been a standout figure. Bit of a passion merchant, if we're gonna be honest with you. It's just so difficult because there's so much competition. Sergio Reguilon as well has been really good in his debut season for Tottenham. His girlfriend is also a sweet one. Listen, yo, if you're watching this, I know Sergio is on a bit more in terms of wages than me, but listen, if I don't tell the tax man, then you... Aaron Cresswell has looked class this season. I don't know where this has come from. He's just been a pretty average fullback for most of his Premier League career. And Tyrick Mitchell is another one from Crystal Palace who's come out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know why he doesn't start every game. I know Van Aanholt is fantasy football heaven, but we don't care, right? Mitchell is actually a better fullback than him. Centre-back now, and there's still loads of options here. I said strikers were going to be difficult, and I've said about 93 defenders already. Ruben Dias, though, I think has to be the obvious one. Easily top 10 players in the Prem this season overall. Like, probably top 5. I genuinely questioned him when he came, because it took him some time to settle. First 4 or 5 games he played, he was a bit like, I don't think he's, like, gonna add a huge amount to this team. Not the same as a Kalidou Koulibaly. But once Laporte's fit and Ruben Dias is playing alongside Laporte, it could be wraps for everybody. Okay, they haven't conceded since 1983 anyway. Ruben Dias is solid, he's confident on the ball, he's silky. His current centre-back partner, John Stones, also gets a shout here. Really and truly, he's been a much higher level than I would expect from John Stones. That is partly because the bar is so low for John Stones, but he's been really good. I wouldn't say 5 or 6 games that have been class just now make him the highest possible candidate in this whole list, but he definitely deserves a mention, and if he carries on this form again like Shaw, he has to start at the Euros for me. Now, next up, we've got someone who isn't even a centre-back, but obviously he's been playing there for a decent chunk of the season, and it's Fabinho. Honestly, and this is not Liverpool bias, I've barely even mentioned any Liverpool players so far. He's unreal at centre-back for a player who isn't a defender. Like, this is what I'm taking into account here. Like, he's had probably the season of, like, someone else in this list, but I feel like that has to be elevated because he's playing out of position too. He's been so solid. He was our best player against Manchester United. He was our best player in half of our Champions League games from centre-back. Kurt Zouma, kind of another player who's fallen a little bit a victim of, like, recency bias. Chelsea are so bad now. Kurt Zouma has been good during points of this season. I will never forgive him for his part to play in the goal that they conceded, or one of the 3 goals they conceded against Southampton. Honourable mentions, Yannick Vestergaard. To be fair, he might not even be an honourable mention. He might actually get in the team. He's been injured for a while, but when he has played, he's looked unreal. He's like 8'9" tall. Wesley Fofana looks good from Leicester as well. They signed him from France and plays centre-back and right-back, I believe, but obviously he's been playing centre-back because of the sheer amount of full-backs that Leicester have. Very, very good. He's filled in for Soyuncu extremely well. That's a hard job. And finally, another Arsenal player, actually, despite them having a pretty underwhelming season, you know, at parts, is Gabriel. To be fair, Arsenal haven't even been that bad defensively this season. It's going forward, they've been shocking until, like, a month ago. But Gabriel, again, debut season has looked very, very solid at the back. I think they've got a very good player there. Once they actually are a functioning team with some actual intelligence, he could go far. On to the midfielders, slightly more defensive central ones we're going to go with first. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has got to be like a really solid shout here, hasn't he? We all knew he was going to be the player that Jose Mourinho needed. A dickhead, basically. If I need to foul you, I'm going to foul you. His centre mid partner, Tanguy Ndombele, has looked really, really solid as well. Obviously had a difficult season last year. Jose kind of likes him now. He's doing well. The goal he scored against Sheffield United is proven scientifically to be impossible. Isaac Newton put it at the end of his, thesis about gravity. We can't bypass Fred in this discussion, I don't think, for Manchester United, as much as it pains me. I just don't understand how you can call yourself Fred as a Brazilian. At least just call yourself Fredinho. I think he's actually performing at a world-class level. And that's a crazy thing for me to say as a Liverpool fan, talking about someone who used to get bantered as a United player. Yves Bissouma as well is another one from Brighton. Honourable mention for him. Brighton look as if they're going to struggle. They may well go down. They're definitely going to be in a relegation scrap, but he should be at a better team than he is. And two centre mids from West Ham as well. Declan Rice, who I've really ripped into in the past, has had a good season. And Thomas Souček, another Czech player, maybe that's the reason why he's called Souček, has been class as well. I don't know how the Don's getting so many goals from defensive midfield. It doesn't actually make any sense, but we move. We also got James Ward-Prowse from Southampton, free kick specialist. I've seen people saying he's better than David Beckham at free kicks. We should probably just chill out. He's up there, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying he's nowhere near. He's up there. And he's still got, ability to grow into. He's not particularly old as a player. I think he could be at a better team than Southampton, really and truly. If Tottenham signed him next season, I would not be shocked at all. And then I also have to put Jordan Henderson in, because he's Jordan Henderson. On to the more attacking midfielders now. The first one I'm going to say is someone who hasn't even been playing as an attacking midfielder, but we tend to associate him with being that player, and that's Jack Grealish. He's been himself, hasn't he? We expect this from Jack Grealish now. Gareth Southgate may still despise him. He may not be able to drive a car capably, but he is a very, very good footballer. He's unbelievable, and I love the balls. The fact he basically doesn't even wear shin pads, and he's still a baller. His contributions this season have been insane. I haven't seen a personal performance against Liverpool so good as I have Jack Grealish's in the 7-2 in a long time. Another English talent playing in the same position who's been very good, especially recently, is James Maddison as well from Leicester. The only thing I'd say about him is he wasn't actually starting games at the start of the season, so I can't say longevity-wise he's been as good over a longer period as Jack Grealish. But when he has played, he's looked unreal, especially for a man of such small height. Everton's James Rodriguez came in and slapped everybody aside. We were all like, is he really going to do the business? You know, it's been a while since that World Cup. And even though he's obviously proved it Real Madrid and Bayern since then, he still proved the doubt was wrong anyway, and just swept everyone aside for the first half of the season. Then obviously got injured. But the obvious one, really and truly, is Bruno Fernandes, isn't it? Let's not beat around the bush. He's been the player of the season so far, though, hasn't he? And it annoys me. I hate saying nice things about Manchester United. Actually, no, I can't bring myself to do it. He's been a bit trash. He's a little bit overrated, penalty murder. But Bruno Fernandes has just carried United on his back. And there's other good players at United, but standing out in a ridiculously good team as much as he has is a difficult thing to do. On to the wingers. Heung-min Son is the first one. If Bruno Fernandes isn't the player of the season so far, then it probably is Heung-min Son, or someone we're going to talk about as striker. So he's definitely top 3. Or at least top 5. This is slowly going down. No, I'm kidding. Heung-min Son's been unreal. Yeah, he's a baller. I don't really know what else to say. He's a complete winger. And I haven't seen a winger as all-round as him in the Premier League for a decent amount of time. He's got physicality, he's got pace, he's got intelligence, he's got run-making, off-the-ball ability, dribbling capabilities, he can finish, composure. Yeah, he's mad. I'm actually only going to put one Liverpool winger in here. I don't think Sadio Mane's had as good a season as he has in the past, which is the reason why I'm not putting him in. Although I still think he's actually had a better all-round season than Salah. It's a difficult situation, but then I can't not include Salah. He's the top scorer in the league at the moment. He's got 13 goals in the Premier League, so I can't really discount him. So Mo Salah is next, goal-scoring prowess-wise. He's a usual, innit? Really selfish. Pisses me off, but still gets the job done. But obviously, he's not been great recently. Kind of a victim of Liverpool not being that great recently, I feel. Bukayo Saka, I think, is the other really solid shout as a winger. There are other honourable mentions that I'll talk about in a second. So in terms of serious contenders as out-and-out wingers, I think Bukayo Saka is up there. Even when Arsenal were absolutely trash going forward, he was the only person providing any sort of creativity whatsoever. Honourable mentions, Harvey Barnes.
Now Harvey Barnes. Oh. massive equaliser.
Who's been overperforming compared to what I would usually expect from Harvey Barnes, and kind of silently as well. Rafinha from Leeds, another debutant in the Premier League this season, has looked really, really solid. Love his flair, love his unpredictability. Pedro Neto is probably the one player at Wolves that I would say has done anything of note during this campaign so far. He looks solid. And despite his clear inability to take any sort of penalty whatsoever, I've actually really liked Ademola Lookman from Fulham as well. He's genuinely a baller. If Fulham do end up going down, I kind of hope they don't, because I feel like they've proved that they don't deserve to anymore. He needs to get a gig at a Premier League club again next season. He's really good, really skillful, obviously very pacey, composed in front of goal as well. Now on to the strikers. This is where it gets very challenging, okay? Because every single English striker known to man, even Dons probably in League One, are in this conversation, have decided they want to be amazing this season. We'll start off with Harry Kane, who I think is one of 3 very solid shouts to be player of the season so far. I think he's got 10 goals and 10 assists in the league. And it's January. That's crazy. Like, that's, like, he is actually, if he carried that on, he's actually on course to match that, like, Henry record. I don't think anyone's ever done 20 goals, 20 assists in a season before, right? Apart from Henry. On a different scale, fam. And he's actually playing number 10 and number 9 at the same time. Someone who's definitely an out-and-out number 9, though, is Jamie Vardy. Leicester, as you would expect, fam. It's just the usual Jamie Vardy. The guy's, he's actually getting on a bit now, realistically. A lot of older players have been struggling with the lack of pre-season this year. Jamie Vardy's pretty much the only one who hasn't, and he's still slapping teams silly. Just being a dickhead as well, for no reason afterwards. Danny Ings, again, standout performer. I don't think he's been as good as he was last season, which is why I probably won't put him in my starting 11, but that's just the high level that he set himself last year. And his strike partner now as well, Shea Adams, who had a struggle at the start of his Premier League, like, sort of career. He's grown into it, and now he looks a very, very solid player. One of the obvious choices, though, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has stalled a little bit recently, because Everton have stalled a lot recently. They've had some injury issues. But there was actually a point where you could bet your whole family's mortgages and pensions on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it's gonna come through. He was unreal for the first, I'd say, 10 games of the season. Since then, has dropped off a little bit, and he's obviously been injured as well. Honourable mentions, I mentioned Adams, but Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa as well. Patrick Bamford from Leeds has, I think, taken everybody by surprise. And I actually rate Neil Maupay this season. Hear me out. I know he got bullied off the park with that injury as well against Arsenal, but for a team who creates absolutely nothing in terms of clear-cut chances and the little amount of shots he actually has on goal, he scores a surprisingly high percentage of those shots. So, for me, he's actually pretty clinical. Now that we're going to take a look at who you guys think are the best players of the season so far, I'm going to take a swift old journey over to Twitter. I can't wait to see Timo Werner as top of this chart. Thomas Soucek, the potato salad merchant. Does he like potato salad? Is that the reason why? Normally, I have 3 weeks off eating potato salad. This is a man I can get behind. Saka, Smith Rowe, Fernandes, Rashford, Emiliano Martinez, James Maddison. To be fair, Rashford, I feel may have gone under my radar slightly. Free food and that's also, I mean, that's good. I don't know if he's offered me, like, more than I would expect from Marcus Rashford. I think that's part of what I'm basing this off as well. Adrian. Oh, Steve, listen. It's been fun being in Quadrant, yeah, but I think my time may have come. So I think that's the end. Antonio, Rice, and Soucek. Definitely a West Ham fan here, but Mikel Antonio is a shout as well. I feel like more recently, there may be a question of stat padding. Obviously, any goal counts. It's just whether that's over a prolonged period of the season, whereas I think maybe Rice and Soucek have been a little bit more consistent. The one and only Van Dijk for doing so much. Listen, if it wasn't for Virgil van Dijk getting injured, this season would not be as interesting as it is. Okay, so actually, really and truly, he is the player of the year. Thank you very much. He'll be getting his reward in the post. Bukayo Saka, also because he has a decent trim. Are you suggesting that I don't? Is that what's going on here? Aubameyang. This is someone with the memory of literally 3 days ago. I respect that. That's calm. But now it's time to pick my team, and I am scared. There's many decisions that need to be made. In goal, I'm gonna do the goalkeeper and then the backup goalkeeper here. In goal it's a really difficult one, mainly between 3 goalkeepers here. This is basically between Martinez, Darlow, and Pope. I think I'm gonna choose Martinez as the starting goalkeeper. I've been mad in, like, really really impressed with him, and his consistency is incredible. So Martinez for his shot stopping. I think his aerial ability is actually pretty good as well, to be honest with you. He's going to go in there, and his backup, his understudy, it's really close. It's going to be Carl Darlow. Actually, because I expect stuff from Nick Pope. I know that's a bit of a dead way to decide it, but the person who's overperforming most out of those two, to me, is Carl Darlow. In a Newcastle team that ships chance after chance. He hasn't really made a big mistake that I can think of anyway. And he's had a season that's so good that Martin Dubravka, who we all said was this good last year, doesn't get near this team when he comes back. Now, this is a hard one. There's so many good fullbacks. Right back is, I'm not going to lie, I've just tossed a coin with this one. I think I'm going to go with James Justin, even though he's not actually been playing at right back. He's been playing at left back in more recent weeks, but I think he's right-footed, obviously. He's traditionally a right back, which is hard because Reece James did have a very good first half of this half of the season, and Cancelo's look class as well. First centre-back is a piece of piss. Ruben Dias, 1000% goes in. There's not even a debate. He's been the best defender of the season so far. John Stones has been good, but really only recently, like, really stand out, I would say. So for longevity across the season, this might be seen as, like, club bias, but I am going to choose Fabinho because, again, of how impressed I've been out of position. His backup, the backup to both of those, actually, that I'm going to go with, it's a toss-up between Stones and Zuma, but also a third person I'm actually going to choose, Wesley Fofana. Wesley Fofana's fucking unreal, okay? If you watch Leicester, you know Wesley Fofana is actually a baller, like, secretly as well. Regardless, it's Diaz and Fabinho at centre-back for me, with Fofana as a backup and Stones and Zuma just miss out. Left-back is hard because there's so many options, but I feel really and truly I think Luke Shaw has been the best left back for this first half of the season. He's not necessarily the best ability wise, but we can't deny he's actually turned the corner. He's actually defensively capable now. Yeah, backup left back is, I think, Kieran Tierney. I reckon Arsenal. I know Chilwell and Reguilon have had good seasons as well. Central midfield is difficult and also not. There's two kind of more holding midfield spaces that I'm running. For me, I think Højbjerg gets in. And the other one is probably Ward-Prowse for me as a more like stock standard centre mid rather than being holding or box to box or whatever. Højbjerg and Ward-Prowse is probably my one. Fred as the backup in defence midfield, although I'd love to put Bissouma there. And then I'm going to say the other backup as centre mid-wise, probably Declan Rice. Ndombele, Souček, really good shouts, obviously, as well. But Declan Rice looks as if he's come of age this season. This is the Declan Rice that I wanted Declan Rice to be, and it's exciting. I'm excited in every single way. More attacking option. This is going to be pretty quick fire. Not going to lie to you. It's Bruno Fernandes, really and truly. It sounds like I'm really kissing his ass. Trust me, I don't want to, ladies and gentlemen, but he's the obvious choice, really, as more of a number 10 in this formation. So he's going in. And as for his backup, I would choose Jack Grealish, but I think I'm gonna allow that for now and go with James Maddison if we're going for an out-and-out number 10. Which brings me on to the wingers. I left Jack Grealish out of the backups because I'm going to put him in a starting 11 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I mean, I don't think Son even plays on the right-hand side. I'm pretty sure he plays on the left. Heung-Min Son is going on the other side. Again, as I mentioned, he's the complete winger, and he's had an unbelievable season. He is literally completely top 3 players of the season so far, which means that I've left Mo Salah out the starting 11 as a top goal scorer in the league. I know, but goals aren't everything. Goal contributions aren't everything. We're 4th in the league, and he's been underperforming for a month now. And for someone like him, who I have ridiculous expectations of, that can't run in the middle of the season during important games. I know you're tired. I know we've got a lot of injury concerns at the moment, but I would genuinely say now someone like Jack Grealish has actually been more impressive than him during the campaign. So Salah is one of the backups, which I find mental to say. And the other backup in terms of a winger for me is Bukayo Saka. I don't think I really need to explain that. And now on to the striker. Really and truly, thinking about it, I should have done a 4-4-2 here because there's been so many good strikers. It's a problem, and I'm going to cheat and give myself 2 backups. But the guy who's starting, I mean, it's Harry Kane, isn't it, really and truly? I'm not going to cheat, actually. I'll give myself 1 backup. But Harry Kane is the guy who's going in the starting 11 here. This could honestly be his best season ever. This is the best Harry Kane I think we've ever seen. It's the fact that he's basically playing as a 9.5 at the moment. If he was just being a bagsman, I'd be like, well, that's what we expect. But he's dropping to deep and being a playmaker as well. The amount of assists he has is unheard of for a striker that's his mould, usually. He's upped his game massively. He's massively intelligent. My backup as well is going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which is really harsh on Danny Ings and Jamie Vardy. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, in comparison to expectations, has been otherworldly. Very, very good in the air. Scarily good in the air. Like Ronaldo-esque good in the air. Unplayable in the air. But I reckon that's what we're going to go with. It's been a long process. It's actually been a long recording as well. That's my team of the season so far. I would love to know what you guys think down in the comment section. I feel like I've covered every player that's been good this season. Whether I've actually chosen correctly for the starting 11 is a different topic altogether. But leave your best teams of the season down in the comment section. I'll be sure to go through them all. If you enjoyed this one though, slap a like on it and subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at the official FNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourselves and goodbye.